Hello and welcome to Ukulele for the Blind. This is a course that fascinates me because I make a lot of online courses, but I don't get the chance to make them too often for special cases. Like blindness, that's a very special case, but music is such a wonderful thing. I think we would like to get started. I'd like you to start by taking out your ukulele, and I'm going to close my eyes. I'm making a video for this. I'm going to try to do a lot of it with my eyes closed so that I can get more in your shoes, which is impossible. I did do a day of blindness once. This is just a fun thing about me. I majored in philosophy at Grand Valley State University, and I'm very interested in different aspects of life, different walks of life, and once I thought it would be an interesting philosophical kind of thought experiment just to spend a day in blindness. And so from the time my alarm went off in the morning, which I know is not the same thing as actually being blind, but from the time my alarm went off in the morning, I had myself blindfolded and spent the whole day, trying to go about normal life, not able to see. And had friends help me move around from place to place, and I went to Starbucks, and the people at Starbucks were like, "What is Zach doing? Is he for real?" Because I was being escorted in there, and I had no idea, and I had this crazy, I was using a suit tie, like a necktie, to cover my eyes for most of the day, and after a while, even the blindfold started to become a problem, because itchy on my head and stuff. But anyway, that's not really what we're here to talk about. So I am making the videos. I would like to caution anyone that's helping or trying to help on the outside just to, not as much as possible unless the student asks for help. I'm going to try to make the course as self-sufficient as possible, so once it's playing, you can just hopefully step back, and we're going to try to do every step self-sufficiently. That might be an exception for very young kids, 10 and under, even 10-year-olds might be just fine with this. 8 and under, that sort of thing. But for the most part, we're going to try to go through step by step and learn how this thing works. I hope you have spent some time getting acquainted with it. One of the big problems with an online course, whether you're blind or sighted, is getting the instrument in tune. So if you're going to do one thing to get help, get the instrument in tune. It should sound like this. And we will learn how to tune in one of the other videos, and we're only going to start with the first string, but it's fun when you're exploring the instrument to have it in tune already so that from the time you start, it's actually making kind of a delightful sound. The whole experience is pretty rotten if you are trying to learn and it just sounds bad. So if you can get it in tune, please do that. And otherwise, let's talk about how to hold this thing. You'll notice that there's a bigger part at the bottom that the strings are attached to. That's usually where we pluck. It has these nice curves. Just kind of guide your fingers around the body. The part that has the strings is what we call the top. And underneath the strings, if you kind of slip your fingers underneath there should be a hole. It's usually just a perfect circle, and that's called the sound hole. And usually there's some decoration on the outside of it. It's a mother of pearl inlay, and so it kind of goes against the wood. The wood has kind of a grain, like a texture on it, and then the mother of pearl is usually very shiny and smooth and shimmery. And that helps the sound hole from not cracking, because when they cut a hole in the top with the wood, sometimes over time, especially if it's in a drier climate or if it's exposed to heat or light, the wood has a tendency to crack, and it cracks in those places where it's been cut. So what they do is they inlay this thing on the top of it that helps protect it. So if a crack starts, it just cracks from from where the wood is to where the inlay is, and the inlay is kind of a protective barrier. Anyway, so that's that. That's where your sound comes out. And I think that's important to know, because what I want you to do next is listen to the strings. Go ahead and just take any finger you want. I'm going to use my thumb, but take your finger and strum it across the strings, and you'll find 4 of them. And when this video started, it's always going to start with our tuning notes, and it's going to go from the highest pitch string down to lower. And this is the one that is going to be closest to the ground. It's also the thinnest string, if you can kind of tell the difference between the gauges, which is very hard because they're almost the same size. But the first one sounds like this, and that's called A. And I'll do a lot of humming and singing so we can identify our notes by pitch like that. Go ahead and try to find which one sounds like A. And then I'm doing what we call a rest stroke, where I pull my finger on one string and land on the string next to it. Doesn't matter if you get that right now. But there's number 2, there's number 3, and then the pitch is going to go higher. So far it's gone from high, and then down to low, and then down to lower again. And then it does something odd. It goes back up higher. See how that motion went? So start from high, down to E, E down to C, and then up to G. I'm sliding my voice so you can hear the direction that it's moving to. Do it one more time. I've done a lot of voice work with students who are learning violin, viola, or cello because they have to find their pitch by hearing, so it takes good ears, and a lot of students don't have much practice, especially if they don't like to sing, they don't have much practice finding pitches, and so it's easier to find a pitch by sliding your voice at first before just jumping from ha, 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 ha. Hear the difference between that and the slide? By the way, in music, that slide is called a glissando. That's an Italian word, I think, that means slide. Anyway, that's how a lot of that works. Okay, so there's your 4 strings. Hopefully we're getting acquainted with that. Hopefully your instrument's in tune. Hopefully you haven't fallen asleep. You're still awake? Okay, good. I hope so. So now, what I'd like you to do is find the body again, and we're going to stick the instrument straight up in the air so that the neck, or the skinny part there that the body is attached to, is sticking straight up, and the strings are facing you. Okay, so now if you were to take your right hand, we're going to use our right hand for plucking the strings because that's how we usually pluck the ukulele. Go ahead and pluck the strings in opposite order from 4, 3, 2, 1, like that. One more time. And now what I've got is my right hand fingers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, or pointer finger, index, I'm sorry, that pointer is the index, pointer, middle, ring, and pinky. On the shoulder, so that they're resting on the shoulder, the top right shoulder, and the thumb is pulling across the strings from 4, 3, 2, 1. And keeping those 4 fingers in place is going to be a helpful technique to being able to find which string you're on without having to use your eyes, because you can't. Sorry if I say things like that. I'm just getting used to how to communicate this. This is a whole experiment for me too, so anyway. So we're going to start with the thumb, dun, 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 across all 4, and leave the fingers, pointer, middle, ring, and pinky, on that shoulder. And then with your other hand, find the top left shoulder. So you can see why these things are called shoulders. It's like if you had a small puppet, and these are the shoulders of the puppet. And then it kind of curves down to where more like the stomach would be, right? Or the trunk. And then if you go down, you can feel where those curves are. It's going to go down even lower. And this is kind of pear-shaped, like the shape of a pear, where it's got a kind of a bulge up top on the top shoulders, and then down below. I don't know what that's called. That's just the bottom or whatever. That's maybe we could call that where the feet go. But that's the bottom half of the body. Okay, so hands back up to the top of the shoulders. And then I want you to take your left hand from the left shoulder and move it up the neck. And you'll see that depending on the size of your ukulele, you might have several all ukuleles are at least going to be several inches. But you'll have some space up there, and when you pull your hand all the way to the top of the neck, see, you could feel like you could strangle it if you wanted to. You could wrap your hand right around it. That's part of why they call it the neck, because it does look like a body and a very long skinny neck up there. And I'm putting it so that my left hand fingers are behind the neck, so they curve around, and my thumb is still on the left side. My fingers are curved around and touching the strings now on the right side. They curve right around it, so I've got control. And then bring your hand all the way up to the top of the neck, and you'll hit an area called the peg box. And this is different on different ukuleles. Mine has all 4 of my pegs. Those are the parts that turn. Don't go turning them. You may have already gone and started turning them. That's going to change your instrument's tuning. So we generally don't want to touch these. We don't even really want to set the ukulele down flat so that it rests on these. If you're able to put it on a ukulele stand or set it up in a corner so that these aren't getting bumped, it's a little bit better. Because even if they get bumped getting moved in and out of a case, it's going to make your ukulele sound out of tune, because whenever they turn, the strings turn, and that's what makes them tighter or looser, and that's what makes them higher pitched or lower pitched. The tighter the string is, the higher the pitch. So that's where the pegs are. There should be 4 of them, and each of them are going to connect to one of your strings. And the way you can find which one connects is by taking your finger up the string like it's a track and finding which peg post it attaches to. Now that's where the string is wrapped around. So the string goes up and then it touches this part that's called the nut. It's called the nut because it used to be made from a nut tree, or from the wood of a nut tree, compared to a lot of the other parts of the ukulele that are made from like spruce or maple, I think, usually. At least that's the case on violin and cello. So anyway, so there's the nut. That's where the string is set in at the very top of the neck before you get into the peg box. There's going to be a little piece of string before it gets to the peg post, or the tuning post. That's usually a metal piece that the string is wrapped around through. So if you ever need to change your string, you can probably find, if you just use one of the tips of your fingers, you can probably find a little hole, or maybe even use your nail, that the string is wrapped around and sent through, so that when you turn that peg tuner, it's going to twist it in a circle, and that wraps the string around it, and that's what leaves it in place. And it only has to be wrapped around about twice before the string stays put. And the less extra we have, the better it is. So those are the important parts of your ukulele. Once you've got all that, you can keep your right hand on that shoulder and then push it as if you're going to go down toward the ground and push the sound hole in front of you. And you can hold on to the body of the ukulele with your arm. So your forearm, the underside of your arm, is resting on the bottom half. Your fingers can still be up on that shoulder for now, and your thumb can strum the strings, starting from string 4, that's highest up in the air, like toward the ceiling, and then you pull the thumb down toward the ground, and you'll go over all 4 strings like that. And we are going to start a song in the next lesson on our first string, the bottom one, the one closest to the ground, and that's called A. Okay, that's all we're going to do for right now. The lessons are usually going to be shorter than this, but I wanted to do a nice thorough introduction. So, when you're ready, go on to the next one and give yourself a round of applause, because in music, rounds of applause are customary. So, bravo! We'll put some little sound effects in there too, where people are clapping. Woo! And imagine they're clapping for you. Okay, that's all for now. See you in the next video. Goodbye. I usually do a thumbs up. So I'm giving you a thumbs up even though you can't see it. Thumbs up. There we go. Good job.
How was that? Pretty good? Is that a wrap? I think we're good for today. Everybody! Great job. That's a wrap. Nice work. Real solid. Great.